Hello everyone. In today's video, I'll be showing you guys how to make what we like to call it in Malay, Qhaub Poob Kua Ntshab, which is a clear broth based vermicelli noodle bowl. In comparison to the coconut base that you guys are most familiar with and are used to eating, this version is a lot lighter. There's no coconut milk in there. This is my mom's favorite way to enjoy vermicelli noodles because she can eat a lot more of it. So if you guys ever had this version before, you guys probably know the flavor palette of it, but I'll show you guys how we like to make it at our house. If you guys ever made this dish before, do let me know what you like to add into it and how you make your broth. I'm always curious, but this recipe is fairly simple, really easy to make, especially if you just want a very inviting, comforting noodle soup on a cold day. You guys can definitely make this with chicken if you guys want a little bit more on the lighter side. So let's go ahead and start cooking. It's gonna be so good. I'm so excited to show you guys this recipe. So let's go. Okay, let's start making the broth first. So the broth is a pork bone based broth, and the bones I'm using today are here. So I'm using a combination of pork rib here, and I'm also using some pork neck bones as well. I like the combo of both just because the neck bones really give out good flavor for the broth, and the pork rib is really tasty in a soup. So I did soak this overnight in water so that we can draw out most of the blood, so that when you cook it, it doesn't have a lot of residue. So if you guys want to, you can definitely do that. If you guys don't have the time to do it, you don't have to do it either. You'll just have to skim out a lot of the residue when it's cooking. So I have about 4.5 pounds of the pork bones. Let's go ahead and add it to the pot. So to this, I am going to go ahead and add in some aromatics. I have 2 onions that I cut in half, 2 bulbs of garlic, cut it in half with the skin on. We're gonna strain this and fish out the pork bones later, so you don't have to worry about, you know, the skin and everything in there. A few slices of galangal. Got 2 lemongrass here that I smashed up so you can get most of the flavors out. And in this bowl, I have about a tablespoon of coriander seeds and about a teaspoon of white peppercorns that I toasted, lightly toasted for about a couple minutes just to bring out the aromas. And we're gonna just drop that in there as well. Again, we're gonna strain this later so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, let's go ahead and add in some water. Alright, let's go ahead and add in some salt right now so that we can season the pork. And some mushroom seasoning. If you guys want, you can use pork bouillon. You can also do chicken bouillon. It's up to you guys. I just like to use mushroom seasoning just because we have it in our kitchen. Alright, go ahead and cover this. Bring it to a boil, and once it comes to a boil, put it on medium-low heat and let it simmer for at least 30 to 35 minutes or until the pork is nice and tender but doesn't fall off the bone. Alright, so this has simmered. You can see a lot of scum on the top. Go ahead and then discard those. Okay, go ahead and cover this, and we'll let that simmer on medium heat for a good 30 minutes or until the pork is nice and cooked and tender. Okay, so while your broth is simmering away, you can go ahead and start prepping your garnishes. So for this particular vermicelli noodle, I like it pretty basic in terms of garnishes. I'm using your basic green onions, cilantro, and culantro. Culantro is pretty optional, or sawtooth coriander. I have lots of lime, but it's pretty simple. Just go ahead and prep your herbs. You guys can definitely add other herbs that you guys prefer, like basil. You can also add bean sprouts. You can also add mint if you prefer. It's really up to you. I'm also going to be adding some cabbage in there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and shred this cabbage. If you guys watched my Qhaub Poob recipe, I did show you guys how to shred a cabbage with a peeler here. Again, you guys want to buy a really nice, compact cabbage here. Cut in half, keep the core on, use your peeler, and go ahead and shred this. If you keep the core on, the core will keep the cabbage intact. And once you get that, you get pretty fine shreds like this. So that's pretty much it for the garnishes. Other than that, let's go ahead and finish the soup. Go ahead and cook your vermicelli noodles as well. And then we can start putting the whole noodle soup together. It's gonna be yum. Okay, it's been about good 40 minutes simmering this. So let's go ahead and fish out the pork bones because we're gonna put that in our noodle bowl. And then after we fish the pork bones out, we'll go ahead and strain the liquid and finish the soup off. Alright, let's go ahead and strain the broth into a different pot. Alright, so last thing we're going to add is some fish sauce. Some kaffir lime leaves, some pork meatballs here. You guys can use your choice of meatballs. You guys don't have to use meatballs if you don't want to put it in there. It's up to you guys. I just cut it in half. And this is totally optional, but in our family we really like to put some tomatoes in there, some cherry tomatoes. It gives it that really nice acidity, kind of sweetness to it, and it's pretty good. So if you guys want to give it a try, I would recommend giving it a try and add some cherry tomatoes in there. We're gonna let this simmer, bring it up to a boil, boil it for at least 3 to 5 minutes, and then the broth is pretty much done. You guys can taste it for saltiness and add more ingredients if you guys prefer to have it a little bit saltier. Okay, it's been simmering for a good 3 minutes. The tomatoes are popping. If you guys want to have it a little bit more mushy, you could just cook it a little bit longer. You guys can definitely cut the tomatoes in half too if you guys want, but my mom and I really like it whole so that when you eat it in the noodle broth, it kind of pops in your mouth. So it's a lot of fun. Again, it's all preference, up to you guys. This is good. I tasted it. It tastes good to my liking. At this point, let's go ahead and finish off the plating and putting our condiments and garnishes on it. Okay, let's go ahead and serve. I'll show you guys how I like to eat it. I'll put some vermicelli noodles in here that I cooked up. If you guys didn't know, for those who didn't know, there are different sizes of vermicelli noodles. If you guys like the smaller size, you can use the smaller size. There's also medium, there's also large and extra large. For this dish, I specifically like the large vermicelli noodles. I'll go ahead and add in some green onions, cilantro, some culantro, your broth, and don't forget the pork bones that we cooked up earlier into the broth. A little bit of cabbage. If you guys want, you can also add bean sprouts if you guys prefer that. I like a lot of black pepper in mine and a piece of lime wedge here, and that's about it. Pretty simple. I prefer to eat this pretty basic with just pepper and lime, lots of lime. I like it kind of sour. Again, when it comes to any kind of noodle soup, you guys can definitely add other condiments that you guys like. My brother loves to add fish sauce in here, like more fish sauce if it's not salty enough. You can also add in chili oil. It's really up to you. But other than that, this is ready to eat. I'm so excited to eat it.